Welcome to Innovations and Breakthroughs with your host, Rich Goldstein, talking about the evolutionary, the revolutionary, the inspiration and the perspiration, and those aha moments that change everything. And now, here's your host, Rich Goldstein.
Rich Goldstein here, host of the Innovations and Breakthroughs podcast, where I feature top leaders and the path they took to create change. Past guests include Rick Cesari, Bob Serling, Joe Fire, and Matt Wolf. This episode is brought to you by my company, Goldstein Patent Law, where we help you to protect your ideas and products. We've advised and obtained patents for thousands of companies over the past 26 years. So if you're a company that has software, product, or design you want protected, you can go to goldsteinpatentlaw.com, where there are amazing free resources for learning about the patent process. You could also email my team at welcome@goldsteinpc.com to explore if it's a match to work together. And you could also check out the book I wrote for the American Bar Association that explains in plain English how patents work. It's called the ABA Consumer Guide to Obtaining a Patent. I have here today Steve Olsher. Steve Olsher is a 30-plus year entrepreneur. He's the founder and editor-in-chief of Podcast Magazine, the original founder of Liquor.com. He's the creator of the New Media Summit, and also is the host of top-rated podcasts, Reinvention Radio and Beyond Eight Figures. He's an international keynote speaker and an in-demand strategic coach who helps businesses of all sizes leverage the power of new media to generate visibility, leads, and revenue on autopilot. That sounds awesome. So really appreciate you being here. Thanks so much for being here, Steve Olsher.
Yeah, thanks, Rich, for having me.
My pleasure. And so let's talk a little bit about reinvention first. And so you are known as America's reinvention expert. Did I get that correct?
You got that correct because you read my website.
Yes. Well, if you say so, I'm with you.
It's got to be true.
Yeah, totally.
You're an attorney. You know that. If you say it, it's got to be true.
Yes, basically, absolutely. So tell me, though, about that. What does that mean to you?
To reinvent one's life?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so look, there's a million different definitions out there on what it means to reinvent oneself or reinvention in general. For me, it really is more about kind of shedding the shackles and whims and agendas and outfits and all of these outside influences, if you will, that have been cast your way over the course of your life and try to mold you into whoever those people and influences wanted you to be, and just shedding as much of that as humanly possible to get back to the core and to the essence of really who you inherently are.
So in essence, it's about letting go of the expectations that others in society have had on you.
Often.
Yeah.
Often it's more about more of a reduction than an addition.
Right. Got it. And so bringing you to a space where you can say, okay, now I can create who I want to be.
I think you already are who you want to be. I believe that what ends up happening is we become sidetracked from who we inherently are. And so the true reinvention in this case, and in this context that we're talking about, is reinventing yourself to become yourself and who you inherently are.
Okay, so we've gotten pretty philosophical here, and I can go down this road. So
Please.
You're talking about getting back to your essence.
Getting back, I believe we are all naturally wired to excel in very specific ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that most of us get away from what that is over the course of time.
Yeah, and like through our life, like certain things drift us away. It could be expectations of parents or teachers or family. It could be a career that we found ourselves in that doesn't exactly fit. And I guess what you're talking about is getting back to the thing that really kind of serves who we are.
And ultimately it's really what has chosen you as opposed to that which you have chosen.
Okay, cool. And you talk about like, what is your what? Like so what does your what mean to you?
So Rich, what you're talking about, so the book that I put in the New York Times list in 2013 is called What is Your What? Discover the One Amazing Thing You Were Born to Do, which, I know Simon Sinek made the whole why thing famous, right? and I love all the start with why work and so on. my work around what is your what predates a bit of what Simon was doing there. And my work around helping people discover what their what is really understanding, again, how they're naturally wired to excel and understanding what puts fire in their soul, really what's in their DNA and reflects who they inherently are. So to me, your what, and we've got a whole framework around what that actually means, but really to me, your what is internal versus your why, which can be something that you choose, is external. So your what really comes from within, and your why is something that you choose. But that's what I mean in the context of what is your what.
Got it. And how did writing and putting out that book serve your what, or kind of what you're really about?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I mean, they say in author land, you write the book that you most need. And so for me, I mean, it's really been one of those ongoing questions as an adult, which is what am I really here for? What am I really good at? What are my contributions to the world going to be? Knowing that, I'm not going to hit a baseball 450 feet. That's not going to happen. I'm not Spud Webb. I'm not going to be dunking the ball, right? I mean, I'm a lot of things, but I'm not those things. So the question is, who am I and what am I and what can I do with the talents that I have, and how can I bring those talents to the surface? So what is your what is really a culmination of the work that I had been doing for a number of years before writing that book, in terms of creating a system, a framework for helping people to not only find something that they really love doing and find something that they're good at doing, but also something, of course, that people will pay them for. And it's the intersection of those three sort of concentric circles, if you will, where you'll ultimately find the sweet spot in which you can begin discovering what your what is and what your core gift is, and then the vehicle you use to share that gift, and ultimately who are the people that you're most compelled to serve. So it's the combination of the gift, the vehicle, and the people that make up the what is your what framework. And frankly, I created it because I needed it.
Well, yes, I get that. And I'm going to go out on a limb here. I don't know you very well, but I think part of your what is helping people with their self-expression. That's kind of what matters to you.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting you say that, for sure. I consider myself in large part to be a promoter. One of the things that I'm really good at is helping people identify where that gift really is, and then helping them to share that gift in a meaningful way so that they can have the impact that they want to have. And so if you look at like Podcast Magazine as an example, and even the book, What is Your What? Throughout the book, I highlight people who have discovered their what and show the what is your what framework that they're leveraging and how they're changing the world as a result, right? Same thing with Podcast Magazine. People have found their what and so on, just really helping
New
people.
Media Summit too. Same thing. It's about helping people like really express something about themselves, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's a great point. At New Media Summit, we give everyone the opportunity to take center stage to pitch top podcasters on who they are and what they do, and they literally get booked on the spot. So yeah, that's definitely, great point.
Yeah. So that's just interesting. I mean, I love this type of stuff in terms of like people's essence and who people are deep down, and the ways in which everything you're describing, the ways in which that gets obscured through life and our journey to try and get back to that. And I just get that that's kind of how you seek to help people, is you help people get back to that in various ways, to be fully self-expressed, launch their podcast, connect with other people that can hear them through other people's podcasts, et cetera. And I think
and
that's
through
awesome.
our own and knowing that there are a lot of people out there who have amazing missions and messages to share, but don't really understand the game or the process of monetizing that mission and that message, is a very unique set of skills that me and my team bring to the table, because not only can we help you at ground zero in terms of figuring out really how you're naturally wired to excel, but then how do you share that and how do you monetize it so you can continue to share that in a way that's of meaning to you.
Got it. So you mentioned like in terms of you and your team doing that. So is it consulting that you also do, or like coaching, or?
Yeah, I mean, our main offering is a program that we call Icon Maker, which is a year-long guidance, accountability, and done-for-you services program. So I don't want to make this a pitch about that, but yeah, that's
Yeah,
certainly
no,
a
but
part
I'm
of what we
curious.
do.
Like, so.
Yeah, I mean, look, to what I know to be true is that most, especially today, as more and more people are looking to leverage the power of new media, and more people are coming into their own in terms of being solopreneurs or wanting to build small businesses or being a coach or an author or a speaker or a solopreneur, so to speak. A lot of them end up spending years without really putting the pieces in place in the right order. And what we've really done is streamline that whole process to help them get really clear on what their brand needs to be, to get really clear on where their blue ocean of opportunity is, how to create a category of one around how they're naturally wired to excel, and then ultimately lay out their profit path, the customer journey, if you will, so that when people first come into their world, they can then do something with them once they become familiar and ultimately move through their relevant products, programs, and services, and then package all of that into a podcast, an online funnel, an online course, et cetera, and just give them all the tools that they need to share their expertise and monetize their expertise and do so really in an automated way where they're generating visibility, leads, and revenue pretty much on autopilot.
Yeah, I think that's the type of journey that everyone should take. It's a journey. It sounds like a journey inward and then a journey outward. Inward to get to know yourself, and then outward to how you then get that message out into the world.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly right. And most of the people, when they come to us and we end up working with them, they've gotten to the point where they're like, yeah, I'm ready for more. I just don't know how to have more or what to do. Right.
Got it. Yeah, that's awesome. And tell me about Podcast Magazine. So how long have you, I mean, I happen to have a copy right here, which
you do.
I showed you right before we started. And,
yeah,
I picked it up at an event. And so just tell me about it. Like, how long has it been going on, and what got you rolling with it?
Yeah, so I've been podcasting off and on since 2009, mostly on since 2015, and really have a lot of love for the space. I mean, I've got tons and tons of friends who are podcasters, and I just love the fact that it gives anyone the ability to reach virtually anyone, almost anywhere at almost any time, with nothing more than than a microphone and their voice, right, and obviously a computer with internet access. But it ultimately really leveled the playing field in terms of giving all of us our own radio station, so to speak. And I've always had a love for radio. Mm-hmm. And when podcasting started to come into favor, and again, I got into it really, really early, I just knew right away this was a medium that I was going to be pretty actively involved with. And so it wasn't actually that long ago. I mean, it was January, at the end of January of 2020, after we put the team together and really got really clear on what we wanted to do with the magazine, that we launched our first issue. And so we knew out of the gate that we didn't want to be just another publication for podcasters, that we really wanted to serve people who love podcasts, the podcast fans. And so going beyond the microphone and sitting down with the podcasters that fans love and getting deeper into their lives and really who they are and what makes them unique and how they grew to where they are with their shows, and also going deeper into the stories that podcast fans love, and hopefully doing our part to level the playing field from a consumption standpoint, in terms of giving shows the opportunity to gain eyeballs and eardrums on what they're doing through our Under the Radar features and our Podcast Magazine Hot 50 and our Off the Charts features and In Your Ears and New Pods on the Block, et cetera, because we know that it's really, really hard from a discoverability standpoint for so many shows to be found. So we're doing our best to introduce our readers to lots and lots of shows that they may never have heard of, but definitely should be listening to.
Hmm. So now, in terms of meeting those goals that you had, in terms of and basically connecting the community, what made you decide to launch a magazine and not something else?
A magazine is a piece of what we're doing. I mean, we've got an umbrella company, which we call Ear Control, of which Podcast Magazine is a piece. We actually have our own podcasts, of course. I mean, Reinvention Radio and Beyond Eight Figures, which we're selling at the moment and moving away from those, but we're launching other podcasts, the Podcast Magazine Hot 50 Countdown, which is our Casey Kasem American Top 40 style show that we're launching, and Beyond the Microphone, which will be these more in-depth sit-downs. And then we have our live event, and we also have an app that we're coming out with. So, the idea here is, Podcast Magazine is one piece of an overall puzzle to really do our part to deliver what we believe the consumer needs and wants as far as the medium is concerned. Got it.
So between that and the summit, like what do you think is, what do you think is next for the industry?
Yeah, look, discoverability is definitely one of the major hurdles that we have to figure out as a whole here, because you can't keep having the same companies put out new shows and having those shows dominate the charts. I mean, we have to figure out something.
I mean, doesn't everyone want to listen to Joe Rogan?
Apparently 190 million people a month do, or 1 million people do, and they listen to 190 shows a month. I can't quite figure out the math yet there, but yeah. And look, and there are a lot of people who I know who frankly can't sit through an episode of Joe Rogan. I mean, it's just not their cup of tea. And so there's a lot of great companies out there producing content right now. But the fact of the matter is that when you come right down to it, it's not even the rule of 1%. I mean, it's 1/10 of 1%, right? Because if you look at the fact that there are 1,500,000 podcasts, 10% of that would be 150,000. 1% of that would be 15,000. So 1/10 of 1% would be 1,500. And there's probably, if you really just dig into the charts, there's probably no more than about 1,500 shows that consistently get love throughout all of the various categories. And it's an ascending spiral, right? I mean, the popular shows show up in the charts. So new people come into the podcast land, they see the charts, they see those shows. So they start tuning into those shows. Right. And then more ratings, more reviews, more subscribes, more downloads means that those shows stay in the charts, and they actually then ascend upwards, and it makes it harder and harder for mere mortals, like the 1,490,000 podcasts, right? to break into that mix. And so that to me is both a concern and it's an opportunity.
Gotcha. Yeah. So on the surface, podcasting would seem to be the great egalitarian media where everyone can have a voice, but yet not everyone, you can't necessarily find everyone. And so it sounds like the opportunity is better ways to connect people with podcasts that really speak to them.
Yeah, I mean, and that's exactly right. So that's one of the things that we're moving to solve. And again, whether it's through the magazine or through our live events or through the community that we're building, we're definitely trying to help as many of the, and I hate to use the term here, but as many of the little guys and gals as we possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that sounds like a great mission to allow people's self-expression to be more kind of available to other people that might connect with them, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, ultimately, it is a medium that I'm a huge proponent of. I am a big fan of. I love the medium of podcasting. And we just want to do our part to help make it as sustainable and scalable as possible. Because at the end of the day, we need more than just Joe Rogan and those types of shows that people become familiar with. So if we want this medium to last and have any sort of longevity, we've got to have more voices, more faces, more types of people out there creating content and being found and being able to monetize their voice and being able to monetize what it is that they're fired up about. Because if they can't, then unfortunately we lose a lot of those voices.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's a tangent. Speaking of their voices, what type of microphone is that? I love the way it sounds.
That's funny. So this is a Heil PR40.
Cool. Well, it sounds great. I mean,
thank you.
I have nothing to compare it to because I don't know what you would sound like in person, but
right. But it's actually running through a very small Xenix mixer. I mean, a very small Xenix mixer. So yeah, just trying to get a decent tone out of it. And yeah, man, I will tell you though that there's a lot of people who are afraid to get into the mix of broadcasting their voice through podcasts. Because they don't think that they have the right voice.
Right.
And I will tell you that what I know to be true is not only do you not need a fancy microphone to get into this world, but what I love seeing, and again, having had so many podcasters come through the New Media Summit and even being a guest on so many shows and having so many friends and so on who have their own show. I mean, what I will tell you is that I actually love the more unique voices. I mean, it's just, that's what makes this medium so beautiful is you don't need to be Rush Limbaugh, and have that, that sort of voice,
exactly.
Let just be you and your tribe will ultimately find you. And it's just a matter of get yourself out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of amazing though, who have become the popular voiceover actors. Usually, I mean, the people who've consistently been the voices of various cartoons, over and over again in different animated Pixar films, often people with very unique voices. They're not the, Howard Stern sounding voices or, as you say, Rush Limbaugh or, I don't even remember the Don Pardo.
Right. Yeah.
That's dating me a bit.
Yeah. No, I gotcha.
Yeah. Cool. Well, look, if people want to learn more about you or get in contact with you, how do they go about doing so?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've been talking about Podcast Magazine and everything that we're doing here. So I'd certainly say that would be a great place to start because I create a letter from the editor every month, and that gives you a lot of insight into my world and the things that are going on, and that's a great way to get to know me and what I'm up to. So yeah, if you're into podcasts and you want to jump into our world, podcastmagazine.com, and then add /free to that, and we'll give you the backdoor link to grab a free lifetime subscription. So podcastmagazine.com /free would be the best place to go.
That's awesome. Really appreciate that. And just thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate the insights and hearing more about your history with podcasting and the New Media Summit, and also with helping people to figure out their what, get closer to the essence of who they really are. Really awesome stuff. So thanks, Steve.
Appreciate you having me.
Thanks for listening to Innovations and Breakthroughs with your host, Rich Goldstein. Be sure to click subscribe, check us out on the web at innovationsandbreakthroughs.com, and we'll see you next time.